Hello, I'm Karma Kitaj. I'm your host for A Livelihood, New Adventures as We Age. Today I'm going to introduce you to Morris Englander, who's going to tell us about his journey, and he's going to tell us about something that I find wonderful, and that is his tenure in a softball league. So, welcome, Morris.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. You were in the motion picture
cinema
industry for what?
40.
For 40 years. 40 years. Oh my gosh. So can you tell me a little bit about what that was like for you, what you did?
Sure. Most of those years were with a company, General Cinema Corporation, that had theaters around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And
so how many theaters did they have at the time?
Well, at the height, they had close to 1,000. No, excuse me. They had about 1,300 screens, and locations were a few hundred, so, which was a lot at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I started with them as the office manager and progressed to the point where I became vice president in charge of leasing space from shopping mall operators for the theaters.
Uh-huh. So you were the head of development, is that what it would be called?
Yes.
Uh-huh. When you started in that industry, did you have a yearning for wanting to move up in that, or did it just happen like that?
It was like most things in life, it was just a quirk. I studied at the Wharton School to be an accountant, because my father told me to. And I started to work for an accounting firm that did the books of General Cinema. And General Cinema, in my first year out of school, stole me away to be the office manager at a very early age. And it's just I progressed to, I just loved doing the leasing work. And I think that at the time we were the biggest mall theater operator in the United States.
Now, are you a movie buff? Or
well, I am. It was the most wonderful thing to be in the movie business, even though I was on this side of the lens instead of the movie-making side of the lens. But the wonderful thing is that you did get to meet and greet movie stars out in L.A. because I was out there.
So when you had the
openings.
Yes. Yeah. So you were at General Cinema.
General Cinema for about 25 years, and RKO in New York for a few, and then finished my career in the movie business, becoming president of a company, Hoyt Cinemas, now operated by Regal Cinemas.
And you became president of that
of Hoyt Cinemas, yes.
Company, huh?
Right.
Right. And you left there in the
mid-90s.
Mid-90s.
Did some consulting in the theater business for various chains, American Multi, some chains, and out in the West Coast. And I think I stopped working, so to speak, around the year 2000, and started my other, quotes, career.
Your other career. Tell me about what you consider to be your other career.
Well, I figured it was time for me to give back, and I kiddingly tell people that when they hear about the various things that I do for charitable work and volunteer work, that I'm trying to make up for all the bad things I've done in my life, and I'm almost even.
What are you going to do when you are even?
Keep going. Keep going.
Do you want to tell us about any of these terrible things you've done?
Sure. In no particular order. Museum of Science information desk, so when you walk in the front door on Monday afternoon, you got to go by me. And I am a Dana Farber volunteer on the prostate cancer screening van, which goes into neighborhoods, health fairs, and so forth, and we screen men for prostate cancer. And not only am I on the van volunteering, helping with the paperwork and so forth, but I'm also on the van. When it was brand new, they needed an older...
You mean your picture?
Like Sex and the City, on the side of the van. So if the van goes by, you'll see the fellow in the green shirt. That'll be me, romping with a few young kids. So that's Dana Farber. And then there's the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is wonderful. Wonderful work, wonderful people, wonderful organization. And I did also, I no longer do, but up until very recently, I was on the Samaritan Suicide Hotline. And I guess you wouldn't categorize that as fun, but it was a feel-good feeling when you were finished with your shift.
You know, a lot of people, when they leave their, what I call their mid-years career, you know, they think that life is going to be wonderful because they'll be able to do whatever they want whenever they want to do it.
Right.
And, you know, then they have 24/7 with no structure whatsoever. Did you go through that kind of a period?
Maybe a week. So I just can't visualize myself sitting around. I mean, travel, of course, I do travel. I go on cruises for pleasure.
For fun,
yeah. No, I haven't given that up, you know. But then there's, when you come home, then what do you do? And so that I have to have a structure of these various do-gooder things, I call it, you know, make me feel good.
So we just have a few more minutes, Morris, but I want to talk, you know, briefly about your softball career.
All right.
And I know that you're on a team.
I am.
And you're the pitcher.
I'm the pitcher, yes, the only pitcher.
So, and your team is COED.
It's COED, yes.
Yep, and it's part of a larger league.
There are, I think, somewhere like 60 or 70 teams in this Boston COED softball league, and
the next youngest person.
I don't think there's anybody over in their 30s other than myself
in
the
this
league.
whole league.
In this whole league.
I know, that is just remarkable.
And my son was.
Your son
Matthew, who, when he learned that I was no longer playing in a senior league that disbanded in Quincy about 5 years ago,
Boston here,
just south of Boston, and he knew I was mourning the loss of being able to get out every week and play softball. He found out that he works for the city, and he found out that the city has a league, and he formed the team so that he could get me out again playing. And I rewarded him back by pitching us to a title and the trophy last fall.
Yeah.
And I love playing, and I'm going to play for years to come.
And I guess you said you played in other teams, and you played since you were young.
Oh yeah, when I was with General Cinema had a team in the Newton Softball League, and I think, as I recall, that we were right at the top most of the time. So, and then before that, I played in high school, but I didn't play in college. But I love the game.
And you love watching the game, too?
I love watching it. Sure. No, baseball's in my blood. Now it's softball.
Yeah. Well, this has been delightful getting to know you, Morris, and
same here.
I think it's terrific that you are playing baseball and that you're the pitcher and with all these young people, right?
I love it.
Their 20s and 30s.